Good morning, everyone. This is Kate Quigley from United Way 211. Welcome to the webinar. We are happy that you tuned in this morning, and I am excited to share the information with you about how you can update with us to keep the information in the database current and correct. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of housekeeping. Everybody is muted on the webinar. But at the end, I will save some time for questions and answers that you can chat in through the webinar software. I would just like to remind people that we have 2 more webinars after today's in our summer webinar series. We've been thrilled with the turnout and the interest in all of these webinars, so we thank those of you that are on that have perhaps participated in more than one already. There are 2 more coming up. Next week on Wednesday the 29th from 12 to 12:30 is 211 and Clinical Community Connections. And then the closing webinar of our series will be on Wednesday, September 5th from 1 to 1:30 on resources, tools, and supports for older adults. And my colleague Alana Krober will be hosting both of those. And if you want to register, I would do so sooner rather than later, because I have taken a look and they are filling up quickly with registration. So if that interests you, if that's part of your work, I would certainly recommend those. So we're going to jump right in. I am going to go through a PowerPoint presentation this morning, which I will be sending out after the webinar today to everyone who registered for the presentation. So again, I'm Kate Quigley. I'm our lead resource specialist and project manager, and I work in the information services department. So I'm going to talk about my team and our work as we go through the presentation, but we are the group that maintains the 211 database. So the system that our 211 contact center uses, and the same system that our 211ct.org website users utilize. So how can all of you help us update the 211 database? That is the question today, which I hope I will answer in detail as we move along. So my assumption is that if you are tuning in today, you may work for an organization that's represented in our database, or maybe not, but for those of you that are, this will be of particular interest, I think, to you. So our mission here at the United Way of Connecticut 211 is to help meet the needs of Connecticut and its residents by providing information, education, and connection to services. So those 3 components of our mission and our work are really critical and important to our day-to-day operations. And with your help, we can keep the 211 database as current and correct as it can be, so that the community is able to access accurate information. So through our call center, we are providing hundreds and thousands of referrals all the time to community programs, which some of you may work for. And if that information is not as current as it can be, then we could potentially be sending someone to a program that is closed, or just needing to update that information. So we want you to be a partner with us, if you will. So we want you to help us help you better. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at that. So do you work for an organization that's represented in our database, and perhaps notice, if you're on our website, that a correction is needed to the program description, let's say. Please tell us what we need to change to ensure that, again, the information is current and complete, so that our call center can make accurate referrals to the individuals that rely on your services. But maybe you're just a community member who has learned that a local program has closed. You went to the program, the door was locked, there was a sign on the door that said, "We are closed until further notice," and you want to let us know that. How would that look? We encourage people who have used programs offered at any agency that's represented in our database to inform us when things may be incorrect. And really, sort of the overarching theme of this presentation is we encourage anyone to report important updates to us, whether they're calling into 211 anytime because we're open 24/7, or whether they're using our website, 211ct.org. We will accept an update from anyone, and I'll get into how we really investigate those reports from various people that are submitting the report. So I did just want to mention a little bit about the size of our database for those of you that are not familiar. So we really do have the state's largest and most comprehensive database of health and human services in the entire state of Connecticut. So in terms of numbers, we have 40,000 programs offered at more than 4,000 agencies in the database. In addition, what we utilize is called a taxonomy system. So it's very similar to a Dewey Decimal System in a library, if you will. We use about 1,000 of these service terms. So we have to attach these terms to the program so that our staff can look them up by the service need of the caller. And then on the other side of that, for reporting, when we capture these referrals, they all roll up into reports, and those are generally geared by these taxonomy terms. And we are accredited by an organization called AIRS, or the Alliance of Information and Referral Systems. So per AIRS, we are required to update each agency that's represented in our database at least one time per year, but we are constantly updating. So it's a formal update one time per year, but there are many interim changes that occur throughout that year. And again, with participation from the community and providers like yourselves. So who updates this large database? Our database is maintained by a team of 5 full-time certified resource specialists. I am one of those resource specialists. I am our lead in our department, and I work with my amazing colleagues who every day are dedicated to preserving the integrity of this database, which has been around since 1976. So I mentioned it's the largest and most comprehensive in the state. There's a definite reason for that. It started many years ago and has been evolving and changing and improving ever since that time. So as I mentioned up front, our primary role is to maintain this database, and we do this by various means. And so we call agencies, we send email updates, we investigate information on agency websites, we attend outreach events where we network with providers and agencies who give us information about new programs or programs that are closing. We do a lot of networking with community providers, and also reading the local newspapers brings us to more current information about community programs and events. So again, this is our primary role for our team, the Information Services Department, and we want anyone who has updates to stay in touch with us. We have very specific systems in place where we manage the updates that come in very efficiently. So let's talk a little bit about how you can update with us. So if you work for an agency represented in the database, you can call or email the information department directly to report a change. So our contact information is here. As I said, this presentation will be sent out after the fact. So we'll have that for your reference, and I will show you the last slide is this information again. But there's our telephone number and our email address. Those come directly to my unit, and we will address those promptly. We would say, if you are an agency represented in the database, please don't call into 211 just simply to request changes to your agency information. So the 211 phone lines, we want to keep those open for people who really do need the referrals and the services, who may not be able to use our website. So if you need to call 211 to get referrals, that's absolutely fine. And if on the course of the call it's needed that you need to update because your agency is also represented in the database. Your call will be transferred to our department, but don't call into 211 just to request a change. There are other methods for that, and we would really prefer, if you do work for an organization, that you contact us directly. Okay. The third bullet here, to add or update program listings or agency listings in the database, you can visit our professionals page. And we're going to go to that page in just a few moments to show you the various ways that you can do those updates right from the website. They're very easy to follow. And then from program records on 211ct.org, we have an update this listing tool, which I'm going to just put into motion in a second on the live website. So these are the ways that you can update with us if you work for an organization represented in the database. If you are calling into 211 for referrals and you want to report something about a program that may be closed, as mentioned in earlier examples, our call specialists, our contact specialists, will send those reports to us for our review. So what they will do is the caller will say, nope, that food pantry is closed. I went there and the door was locked again. Same scenario. Our staff in 211 will flag that resource for us. So right in the internal database that they use, they flag that resource, we get it, we act on it, we do the research that we need to do, because this isn't necessarily the organization calling us, this is just a general consumer in the community. And so we will research, we will call the food pantry, we will network with the community providers as mentioned if needed, so like the Connecticut Food Bank or Food Share, to verify. We're always going to take the steps to verify the information before we make any changes. Okay, so I'm going to just come out of the PowerPoint for a moment and go to our website to really walk through what I just mentioned here. All right, so if we go to 211ct.org, I am going to show you the ways that organizations can look up their information and update. It is a little bit different to the general searching for services and getting a list of results. So the process is just a little bit different. So I'm glad to be able to share this with all of you now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually type in the name of an agency represented in our database. Okay, so I'm typing in career resources, and what I want you to observe is that nothing auto-suggests. Okay, so as I started typing, you probably noticed that a few things pop up: career awareness, career counseling, career exploration. Those are all the taxonomy terms that we use, that I mentioned, that we're required to use. These are based on, you know, the type of service that someone needs. But typing in an agency name or a program name is not going to auto-suggest anything. Okay, so, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to find it. So you can put in a location. For the sake of this, I am just going to show it to you at a statewide look. So I want to see career resources listing in the state. So I'm going to hit search. It's going to tell me that I should narrow it down, and in most cases you should, but in this one it's okay to just use Connecticut. So there's a few options, 7 resources, and you're going to see that there are matches on program name and agency name, and I'm going to show you the difference. Anything right here that can be hyperlinked and clicked on, that's in lowercase lettering, that's a program. So results are always populated on our website by program. Okay, so there are 7 resources, that means 7 programs. The agency name below is in all caps. That's consistent with the style guide that we use to put in our information. So, for example, I'm going to just pretend that I work for Career Resources, and we may have someone on from Career Resources today. So I think this may be a good example. So that's not, the first one is not my agency. I look at the second one. This is also not my agency. I see very clearly that it's the Department of Labor. I keep scrolling. And then I see adult education, and then the agency is Career Resources, Inc. This is what I want. This is my agency. So what do I do from here? I click more details. Okay. I'm going to check my information. I'm going to read the description. I'm going to scroll down and notice the location, the contact numbers, the service area. Maybe there's other languages offered, the hours, the website. I'm going to keep scrolling a little bit more because this is where the agency information comes into play. And it's important to also know that right here is the last verified date. So we formally, as I mentioned, we do this one time per year for every organization. Formally, we last updated on March 5th, 2018 for every program listed under career resources, okay? And to know what other programs are offered, those are always listed below. So if you clicked on any one of these, you would get those program details. So that's just a little bit on how to navigate once you're at the program record. If, let's say, this record had more than one site, those would be listed here on the left with its corresponding programs to the right, okay? So back to updating. I noticed that this last piece, this note about adult education for ex-offenders is provided at the Council of Churches. Let's say that has changed. That location is no longer available for that service, and you need to change that. So we're going to click Update This Listing. If you take nothing else from this webinar today except this, remember the Update This Listing button. That's going to get you that open line of communication with us in the information department, okay? So for those of you who used our website recently, since all of our changes, we've been constantly adding enhancements. So this may look a little bit different to folks who've been using it before. We've added one other layer of updating to the website. I'm going to show you first how to suggest an edit, which is really the more traditional way that we've always had on the website. And then a little later, I'm going to show you this component to publish a note. They are two different things. I will explain the note momentarily. But for right now, suggesting an edit, this means it's not displayed publicly once you submit it. It's just forwarded to our information department for myself and my team, and then we make those changes. So we suggest an edit. Let's click that. What it does, and again, if you've used the site before, this will probably look familiar. It presets this intake form with the agency name, as we looked it up, and adult ed. That is the program we chose. All you need to include is your name, your email, your phone number, and then the description of the updates you're requesting. When you hit submit, that comes right to a group email in my department that we check every single day, multiple times per day, and we will take the first steps to research the information. If what you have given us, if we can verify that you in fact work for Career Resources, we're just going to make that change. And we're going to follow up and let you know it's all set. We may need a little more information, so that's why really including your email and your phone is really important, so that if we do need to follow up, if you give us just a brief description, which is fine, we may need to investigate a few more of those details to make the information crystal clear, okay? So that is how you would go ahead and do the update right from the website, right from your program. So let's say adult ed, you do that update, and then maybe you're looking and the Fathers for Life Fatherhood Initiative program. You want to look at that one too, just as a check. I mean, we updated in March, but things may have drastically changed. Same thing, update this listing, and you're going to go ahead and submit that to us, and then we're going to take the steps to investigate and update that record. Okay? All right. So I'm going to go back into the PowerPoint for just a moment. And I've touched upon this, but when you submit those inquiries, they come right to the information department. We check that every day, throughout the day. We do reach out for further contact. And then once the database is updated, the update shows immediately for our 211 contact center staff. So it is in real time. As soon as I hit save, they see that change automatically in their database. On the website, it just takes 15 minutes for the information to refresh. And in the world of website updating and having, in the past, we used to have to wait, I think it was 2 days for a website change to be reflected. 15 minutes is wonderful. So it's definitely very fast. So what if I have an urgent update to report? I work for an agency, and let's say we've had a fire and we have to close down temporarily. And we know we're listed on 211, but I forgot Kate's contact info, I forgot the info department email, everything was burned in the fire in my Rolodex. So how do I report an urgent update? This is a new feature for us. It's going to allow people with a 211 account to publish time-sensitive updates to the resources listed on the website. Again, these are forwarded to our department for review and verification, but the difference is they will be immediately visible on our website for all web users to view. So that if you do this update, and I'll show you how to do this in a second, if you do this and then someone lands on your record an hour later, they'll see, oh, there's a fire. Oh, I guess I shouldn't go there today, and either research a little bit more other options or call 211 for different referrals. So the intention is really for urgent and time-sensitive updates. Our department, we will remove those notes once we've made changes, but they will automatically expire from the website after 7 days. So if we see this update about the fire coming through, we will more than likely make that agency record inactive in our database. So once we do that, it's no longer visible to anyone. Our contact center can't see it, and our web users cannot see that, okay? So you have to have a 211 account, and there is a simple login process for that if you haven't done it already. You log into your account, you do the same process that we just took, update this listing, and before we notice the two different options, this time you're going to publish a note on this listing, and we'll go live to the website to take a look at that in a second. And then again, it will be visible to users. So let's just stick with this same example for the sake of time. Update this listing. We're going to submit a note. That's all I'm going to say, okay? So we're going to submit the note here. And then we're going to go back to our results. And what I want you to see, I'm going to go back in under Adult Ed, same steps we took a second ago. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to look for the Fathers for Life. And now we see that there is a user note posted. Okay, fire at this location, closed temporarily. And I posted this just now. Okay, so really, as I mentioned before, when our 211 staff flag resources internally in the database, it is very similar to this. Okay, so now web users with a My 211 account have the option to post these notes for other users to see for time-sensitive, important, critical updates. Okay, so that is brand new for us, and we hope that it will be successful in, again, keeping the lines of communication open between us and the public and the providers represented in our system here. So here's our information again. Really, please stay in touch with us often, okay? Here's our telephone number. Here is our email address that comes directly to us. Our professionals page, as I mentioned, has various ways. Sorry, that link took me to the wrong spot. We're going to go to the professionals page here. And on the left, you can also take some steps to update with us, okay? This update form is what we already looked at. These are new intake forms for new agencies, so a new food pantry or soup kitchen, a new home care agency, a new sober living home, a new support group, or just a larger nonprofit organization with many services and programs. These are our intake forms so that we can gather all the information we need up front to then make the decision whether we will add someone into the database or not, and then go ahead and put it in if we've decided yes. And then our inclusion-exclusion criteria is found right here. And I'm going to pause for just a second so that you can think of any questions that you might have for me, and we'll take the last couple minutes to go through questions. My hope is that maybe today you learned some new ways to update with us. Really stay in touch with us as often as needed, because the database is only as good as the information that we are provided. So we are very persistent, and we try really hard to keep the contacts with the agencies represented in the system to stay on our schedule of updating and to reach out as often as needed to the agencies, but we want that to be reciprocal. So we really thank you for tuning in today to learn more about this whole process. I'm going to pause for a second and go check and see if there might be any questions. So it looks like there's no questions quite yet. If you have one, you can put them into either the Q&A box or the chat box. If you think of a question after the webinar today, you can certainly send us an email and we would be happy to answer that. I'll leave it open for just another moment in case someone does think of a question or needs clarity on something. All right, so I can assume that no one has any questions. I thank you all very much for tuning in today. I hope to hear from you soon, okay? Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. We're almost there, so take care, everybody. Thanks so much.